Hey everyone, my name is the Theme Park Evangelist. Well, it is time for another How Venita and I Met, or How I Met Venita, however you want to, whatever you want to call it. So, um, more or less, the last time we talked, I discussed um, how hanging out with Venita at Legoland, Florida, really made a significant impact on my friendship with her. But today, as you saw in the title, I am going to be discussing how moving here to Kentucky, where I'm currently located, from Central Florida really impacted the friendship, and I don't mean in a positive way. But you know what? We still remain friends even after I moved away. And by the way, I should note that Katie is going to be joining me again for another session of YouTubing, so don't mind her in the background.
Hello.
And that's Katie right there. Katie is my fiance. We're getting married on Saturday, August 2nd, 2025, for those of you who do not know. Anyway, so normally I don't. Let me pause this for a second. So, yeah, yesterday yesterday being Monday, is normally my at home vlog day. However, though, sometimes I do have the opportunity to vlog on Tuesdays as well. Now, the reason why I don't have on my cover photo, or whatever you want to call it, my banner uploads every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is because I can't always promise I'm going to be able to upload on a Tuesday as well. Because lately it has been able to happen, but next week it may not. The following week it may not. It really just depends on the week. Right now, while my schedule is permitting it, yes, I guess you could say I can, but that might change by next month. We will see what happens, but yeah, the other reason why it's going to work out is just because of the fact that I have to be in bed early because I got to be up by 3 a.m. So anyway, let's get into it. So, back in August of 2017, almost 7 years ago exactly, I had a chance to go hear Ken Ham speak for the first person live in Tampa, Florida, and I arranged for us to go meet Ken Ham. And that's when I found out my parents' big plan to move here to Northern Kentucky to go work for Answers in Genesis. And I thought that was like the coolest thing. I was like, wow, this is so awesome. And, I would love to be part of the same exact ministry as my parents. And I had already been planning on moving away from Florida at this point. So, come 2019, everything came into fruition. We hired a contractor from upstate New York to come and work on the house. And he and I hung around a lot together, and I even introduced him to his very first KFC buffet before I moved away. And because I didn't want as much stuff going with me up to the new place, as stupid as it was, I sold my entire Walt Disney World monorail set that I had been collecting since I was 5 years old to a collector from upstate New York as well for $40. And trust me, if my parents knew that at the time, they would have forbidden it. I think they did finally figure it out, but trust me, even with what I had, was worth at least a few $100s. Could you imagine, though, if I had the Polynesian, the Contemporary, no, I already had the Contemporary, and the Grand on top of what I already had? Those, these days, are worth $100 each. So, anyway, needless to say, there was a lot that was going down. I even lost my own bike. It was a sad time. I know TJ took it the hardest, but this is not about him. And I didn't see much of Venita before I moved away. Now, I know I worked my last day at Publix with Venita, and I don't remember her being able to help move just because of her work schedule, but I did say bye to Venita before I left. And I was around the area, and I don't honestly remember hanging out with her. But, once I moved away, things changed, and it's not like I could just go see her at work anymore. It's not like I was just 30 minutes away anymore. Now I was 15 hours away. And now she only could get a hold of me by phone call or message. And I did feel like we started contacting each other more often, just because of the fact that there was that distance factor. And I was hearing, how things were going at work. I heard a lot about, like, so-and-so and so-and-so. I heard about a lot of changes going on at the store. We used to message each other constantly, especially before Katie came into the picture. And I was hearing about, like, what this manager did. I was hearing all about Joe and just what a jerkwad manager he was. And then I was also hearing about how some of my former coworkers were just getting worse and worse over time. And it was just making me that much happier to know I wasn't there anymore. There's nothing like hearing about your old store after you've already left. And, I started working at Meijer a few months after, or a month or two after I moved away. And, by this point, I'm starting to forget about Publix up to a point. I'm starting to forget about 448, my old store number. I'm starting to forget about, everything. And I'm just like, I'm at Meijer now. I'm in Florence. This is, my main concern now. And, I'm starting to hear about, this person like, oh, have you met this person? Have you met this person? And it just became more repetitive the further on, or the longer I had been away. And I mean, even just before I came back down to visit in 2020, I was still hearing quite a bit about, like, oh, have you met so-and-so? Like, oh, they are just amazing. Or this person really sucks. And it's like, once again, like, I don't know who this person is. And I'll be honest with you guys, I really did admire Venita's determination to keep the friendship going. But the thing is, with long distance friendships, there's always that awkwardness. Like, okay, like, I can't really relate to you completely anymore. Like, I can, but I can't, if that makes any sense. Like, yes, I can relate to you in the sense that, we worked together for X amount of years. We worked in the same store together for the same amount of years. And we both had the same manager for the same amount of years. And we had some of the same coworkers. But there was just constantly new employees coming in all the time. And, just jumping ahead a little bit here. I've been in that store now how many times? I went to visit that store in 2020. I avoided it in 2021. I went back again in 2022. And then I went back and took Katie for her first time last July. So what is that? 3 times I've already been back. And that's just a rough guesstimate that I've been back at that store, and every single time I don't recognize anybody in there except for a couple of people, and even then there's only a couple of them that actually recognize me. And even the ones that somewhat recognize me, they kind of look at me like, I feel like I worked with you at one point, but I don't really know you anymore. And they just, they give me that awkward wave, and then they will just walk away. And it was just getting really hard. It was getting harder and harder to hear about these former people I worked with, especially considering when I started seeing them, on my old job, and half of them didn't even care that I was even in there. And, they're seeing me older, more mature. They even saw me in there with another woman, or in there with a woman, period. And it's like, I understood that Venita was trying to make the connection, but at the same time, she wasn't putting two and two together. And one thing I was trying to do was I was trying to let Venita know how things were going up here. And it's like, once again, there was that awkwardness, like, I don't know how to relate. And I was like, this is how things are going at Meyer. And I was telling her, like, oh, I learned this today. Or, oh, I'm learning how to cashier. And then when I was working at Kings Island, I was sharing her that, like, oh, I'm doing this, and I learned this, and, oh, we're doing this today. And I'm using those as examples. And it's like she was impressed, but she kept trying to find something to relate to. And unfortunately, it just wasn't working. And I think the one reason why, bringing TJ into this conversation briefly, why TJ and I have stayed somewhat strong friends, even though he's been a jerk to me all these years, is because of the fact that TJ is able to look past the fact that even though he's in Florida and I'm in Kentucky, he's still able to understand, like, okay, David's in another state, and he makes the conversation. He finds conversations. He asks me, "How's the weather? How was your day? How's everything going at Chick-fil-A? What did you do today?" I mean, he fires follow-up question after follow-up question, and I find it very easy to talk to him. And sometimes our conversations do last for 2 hours, like they did yesterday, because of the fact that we're able to ask each other questions. What's going on down in Florida? What's going on with me? And we just really seem to connect. But unfortunately, Venita and Kay, but just focusing on Venita, not so much. I don't know if it's just that generation or if it's just their personality. I don't know. And, it makes me feel bad, but I can't do anything about them. I'm going to continue to show them God's love no matter what. And I've noticed it's gotten even more awkward, moving forward to today, just briefly here. When I first introduced Katie into their lives, I could tell they were trying to reach out and, embrace her. But the more that they saw that they were no longer needed in my life, and the more that I was embracing Katie and not them, the more they started pushing away. And at first they tried to push her and try to get me to push her away so I would take them back. But when they saw that was no longer working, they just gave up on me. TJ was the only one who didn't, because he just has learned to accept that, if Katie is who I want to spend the rest of my life with, then he respects that fully. I wish everybody could say the same. But TJ is 30 years old, like Katie and I. Venita's in her 60s, and Kay is in her 60s. So, look at that generation gap. All three of us, just looking, specifically Katie and I, we're millennials. My brother is a Gen Z, even though he doesn't want to admit it. The dude goes to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. Come on. But then again, he is in the process of looking for something, and just, be praying for him during this difficult time. And that's as much as I'm going to say about that. So, to conclude this vlog, the moral of this vlog, the main point of this specific vlog is sometimes the age gap can make a problem or cause a problem when there is that distance factor. And sometimes the older generation doesn't always seem to understand the younger generation, especially when they are so far away. And I think that's something I've been discovering with Venita over the years. And, just looking back at that time frame, it's like Venita at that time was going through this phase where she wanted me back in Florida working with her, but she was like in that denial phase, like, no, I refuse to accept the fact that David's gone. He's still here. He never left. And that's kind of why that was probably one of the most challenging, or the second at least most challenging time of our friendship once I had moved away. Right now we're actually going through the toughest, but we'll get there and we'll go more into depth about it. So, I do ask for those of you who do believe in the power of prayer to be praying for Venita during this time, because, there are going to be some challenges that come up. There is, a 3+ decade age difference between the two of us, and we're not always going to agree. And often I have wished I was back down there, or I could visit more often, but every time I am down there, it's just a painful reminder of why I shouldn't be down there in the first place. And every time I'm around them, they're always trying to manipulate me into doing things their way. And I don't want to do that anymore. And then I miss Katie when she's not around. So I also want to ask for a prayer for Katie. She's obviously still not feeling well if you can't hear her in the background. And I'm going to get this vlog uploaded to YouTube, and I'm going to try to do something for her to make her feel a little bit better, and see if there's something she wants to do with me before she heads home for the night and I go to bed for the night. Well, more than likely, you guys will see me again. Actually, not even more than likely. You guys will see me again Sunday night. I'm going to be vlogging the fireworks at Kings Island on Sunday night. Immediately followed by another at-home vlog on Monday, and I'm going to try to do at some point that day. I don't know when. And then I'm also going to be doing a YouTube short or more, or two or more in Newport, Kentucky. And then, depending on my energy, I might be able to do another at-home vlog on Tuesday next week. So I will see you guys in the next vlog. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out.